Level 1. The fresh fish / the mule. There is no welcome committee at Angola. The moment you step off that suffocating transport bus, the Alcatraz of the South swallows you whole. You don't just see the prison, you breathe it. A sickening cocktail of sour sweat, cheap institutional bleach, and the metallic tang of old blood violently assaults your nostrils. You tell yourself to keep your head down, be invisible, just do your time and get out. But in this concrete hell, innocence is just a delayed death sentence. You are the fresh fish, thrown into a cramped holding cell that feels more like a cage for rabid dogs. The heavy steel door slams shut behind you with a deafening clang. An ear-splitting silence immediately follows, broken only by the echoing coughs and distant, muffled screams from the lower blocks. You sit on the edge of the rusted iron bed. Cold sweat drips down your spine. You try to shrink into the shadows, but the predators are already watching. Within an hour, the shadows move. A massive inmate with a spiderweb tattooed across his throat corners you. He doesn't introduce himself. He doesn't ask for your name. To him, you are not a human being. You are just a biological locker, a disposable asset. He violently shoves a tight, plastic-wrapped cylinder into your trembling hands. The package, he growls, his breath reeking of stale tobacco and decay. Hold it! The suits are doing a sweep in 10 minutes. If they find it on me, you disappear today. If you lose it, you die much, much slower. Your hands go entirely numb. The plastic is slick, coated in someone else's grime. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a sledgehammer, completely drowning out the heavy boots of the approaching guards, the suits. You can hear the cold, rhythmic jingle of their keys echoing down the hall like the Grim Reaper's call. You have seconds. Pure panic takes over. You force the package down your pants, hiding it deep in the most humiliating, painful way possible. The taste of rusty iron coats your tongue, pure, unadulterated fear. You stand rigid at attention by the bars as the guards storm the block, tossing mattresses and shining harsh flashlights into terrified eyes. They walk right past you. You survived. But as you pull the package back out, wiping your own cold sweat from it, a horrifying realization sets in. You are no longer a man. You are a mule. You have taken your first step down the staircase to hell. Level 2. The Kite Flyer. You survived the first night, but survival in Angola is just a prolonged state of dying. Your innocence didn't survive that first drop. It died the moment you realized you were just a tool for the predators. Now, you've been promoted to the absolute bottom rung of the syndicate's ladder. You are a kite flyer. You learn to navigate the crushing darkness of the cell blocks. The air here always tastes like bitter, cheap coffee, mixed with the foul stench of unwashed bodies, thick and suffocating. You learn to shut your mouth and keep your eyes wide open. Your job is simple but lethal. Passing kites. Tightly rolled, sweat-soaked pieces of paper containing hit orders, smuggling routes, and extortion demands. You transport them tucked under your tongue, hidden inside your shoes, or taped directly to your skin. You map out every single camera blind spot. You memorize the heavy, rhythmic footsteps of the suits. You start understanding the underground dialect. You hear whispered threats about the heat coming down from the warden's office, and rumors of blue strips, the dirty money seamlessly flowing through the prison commissary. You become a ghost, communicating only through fleeting eye contact and imperceptible nods. The deafening silence of the corridors at night becomes your only companion. Then comes the day in the mess hall. The air is heavy with the nauseating smell of boiled cabbage and raw electrical tension. You have a kite tucked securely under your tongue, the bitter taste of ink slowly bleeding through the paper. You are carrying a death warrant for a rival gang member, though you actively pretend you don't know. Suddenly, the low murmur of the room shatters. 3 tables down, another Kite Flyer from your block is violently cornered. A jagged metallic tool flashes under the harsh fluorescent lights. A sickening, wet, tearing sound echoes through the hall. The boy collapses, desperately clutching his neck as chaos erupts. A freezing, cold sweat runs from your heels to the very top of your head. The alarms start blaring, a shrill, mechanical scream of the Reaper. But you freeze your emotions. You hold the kite tight against the roof of your mouth. As the suits herd everyone back to the cells, you are forced to walk right past the dying boy. You step directly over the sticky, expanding puddle of warm red liquid on the gray linoleum. You don't blink. You don't look down. You realize, with bone-chilling clarity, that in this world, there are no good men. Only the ones who haven't been caught yet. Level 3, the muscle/the enforcer. You do not just survive Angola by carrying secrets forever. The syndicate always demands a higher price. Your usefulness as a quiet kite flyer has officially expired. You are no longer the terrified prey hiding in the shadows of the cell block. The corruption is settling in deeply, forming an irreparable, jagged crack in your soul. You have been chosen. You are now the muscle, the enforcer. You are the violent extension of the syndicate. The very air around you physically changes. Inmates, who used to aggressively bump into your shoulder, now silently press their backs against the cold, damp concrete walls when you walk by. You breathe in the stale air, but now it smells like fear. A scarred lieutenant pulls you aggressively aside near the rusted weightlifting equipment. The new mission is simple, brutal, and absolutely non-negotiable. A civilian, a terrified, naive first-year inmate who foolishly thought he could gamble away his commissary debt without paying the consequences, needs a harsh, unforgettable lesson. You are handed a heavy, crude instrument of pain. A thick, solid metal padlock stuffed tightly inside a filthy, sweat-stained athletic sock. The sudden, dense weight of it pulls heavily at your wrist. A cold shiver runs from your heels to the top of your head. Your hands go entirely numb, but this time, it is not from pure panic. You corner the civilian in the absolute blind spot behind the towering industrial laundry machines. The suffocating chemical smell of cheap bleach and damp cotton violently fills your lungs. He looks up at you with wide, desperate eyes, begging for just a few more days to get the blue strips. The deafening silence of the laundry room is broken only by the loud, rhythmic thumping of the washing machines. You hesitate for a fraction of a second. But in this world, hesitation is a death sentence. You swing the heavy lock. A sickening, bone-crushing thud echoes through the cramped space. He drops hard to his knees. The bitter taste of rusty iron instantly coats your mouth, but it is not your fear. You strike again. Harder. And again. The wet, sickening thuds perfectly synchronize with your violently hammering heart. The initial wave of intense disgust and physical nausea is suddenly washed away by something far more terrifying. A sick, intoxicating rush of absolute power. You stand tall over the broken civilian, the heavy sock slowly swinging from your trembling fist. You wipe the cold sweat and the sticky red liquid from your face. The horrifying truth sets in. The exact moment you picked up that weapon, you had already brutally murdered your old self. You are no longer just surviving the Alcatraz of the South. You are becoming the monster. Level 4. The lieutenant/the shot caller's right hand. You do not have to break bones anymore. You have finally washed the sticky red liquid off your bruised knuckles for the very last time. You have ascended from the filth of the lower blocks. You are now the lieutenant. The absolute right hand, of the old man. You have stepped into the golden cage of Angola. The heavy, suffocating stench of unwashed bodies and raw sewage from the general population is completely gone. It is replaced by the rich, thick smoke of smuggled cigars and the surprisingly sweet, foreign scent of real, clean soap. Your pristine, neatly pressed uniform physically separates you from the desperate, starving masses. You eat hot, fresh food smuggled directly from the warden's private kitchen. You no longer do the dirty work. You flawlessly orchestrate it. You completely control the drop hidden deeply behind the massive industrial freezers, managing the endless, invisible river of blue strips, glowing packets, and burner phones flowing right past the deliberately blind eyes of the corrupted suits. You are the untouchable, brilliant manager of a highly lethal, multi-million-dollar concrete empire. Every single kite flyer and enforcer immediately bows their head when your polished boots step onto the cell block. But the higher you climb, the thinner and more toxic the air becomes. This luxurious cage is rapidly shrinking around you. The taste of fine, contraband espresso on your tongue suddenly turns brutally bitter. You are constantly surrounded by 100 fiercely loyal soldiers, yet you are completely, utterly alone. It is an absolute, crushing isolation in a raging sea of violent, unpredictable men. Every forced smile, every overly respectful nod from your ambitious subordinates feels exactly like a hidden blade, slowly scraping against your spine. You are forced to sleep with one eye open, your trembling hand permanently gripping a sharp metallic tool hidden under your soft pillow. The deafening silence of your private, solitary cell only amplifies the violently loud, irregular thumping of your own intensely paranoid heart. You realize the ultimate, painful truth. Money cannot buy sleep. It only buys a much more expensive bed for you to lie awake on, tossing and turning in pure, unadulterated terror. Then comes the chilling shift. The air in the recreation yard grows noticeably colder. You catch the old man looking at you for just a few seconds too long. His dead, shark-like eyes are quietly calculating your worth. He's getting weak, and you are getting far too competent, far too respected by the muscle. In this brutal ecosystem, being too good at your job is a terrifying death sentence hanging by a heavily frayed thread. You sit on your thick, comfortable mattress, staring blankly at the solid iron bars. The echo of your own breathing in the empty room is deafening. A freezing, cold sweat drips slowly down your neck as the horrifying reality sets in. You thought you were carefully controlling the game. No. You are just a highly priced pawn on the old man's bloody chessboard, and it is almost time for a sacrifice. Level 5, the usurper / the crossroads. The invisible death sentence hanging over your head finally drops. The old man summons you to the darkest, most isolated corner of the recreation yard. His raspy voice, usually a terrifying command, now sounds exactly like a desperate, cornered animal. The suits have found the massive, hidden stash of blue strips and glowing packets deep inside the industrial laundry vents. Federal investigators are coming. The old man looks directly at you, his dead, shark-like eyes demanding the ultimate, suicidal loyalty. He tells you to take the fall, to confess, to willingly bury yourself in solitary confinement for the rest of your natural life, so his reign can survive. He calls it an exit strategy for the syndicate. He hands you a rusted metallic tool. "Handle it," he whispers. You slowly nod, staring down at the cold, jagged piece of metal resting in your completely numb hands. But the puppet strings have finally snapped. You realize you are standing at the absolute, terrifying crossroads of your miserable existence. You can either let them slaughter you like a loyal, pathetic sheep, or you can become the absolute butcher of Angola. The communal shower room is thick with blinding, suffocating hot steam. The nauseating smell of cheap lye soap and ancient, moldy tiles violently assaults your nostrils. The old man is standing alone under a flickering, harsh fluorescent light, completely vulnerable, arrogantly believing his bloody throne is entirely secure. The deafening silence of the damp, echoing room is broken only by the rhythmic, aggressive hiss of the boiling water violently hitting the cracked concrete floor. You step silently out of the dense gray fog. No dramatic words are spoken. You lunge. The struggle is raw, incredibly ugly, and utterly silent. There is no cinematic music playing in your head. Only the deafening, erratic thumping of your own heart hammering against your ribs like a sledgehammer. The chilling, metallic click of your homemade weapon locking into place violently echoes through the thick steam. You drive the metallic tool deep. The hot, sticky red liquid violently bursts over your trembling knuckles, mixing instantly with the scalding shower water rapidly swirling down the rusted, hair-clogged drain. He collapses heavily against the wet, grimy tiles. You stand directly over him, your chest violently heaving, desperately gasping for the thick, humid air. You look directly into the old man's rapidly fading eyes as his wet, raspy breathing finally stops. A freezing cold shiver violently runs from your heels to the very top of your head. But it is not out of pure panic. It is the absolute, terrifying realization that you feel absolutely nothing. You have successfully crossed the final, irreversible boundary of your own humanity. You drop the bloody tool. The heavy steam clears just enough for you to see your own terrifying reflection in the cracked, dirty mirror on the wall. The scared fresh fish who walked off that transport bus is completely, permanently dead. The usurper has officially been born in his blood. Level 6, the ghost/the boss. You sit completely alone on the thickest, most comfortable mattress in cell block D. The harsh, flickering neon lights from the corridor cast long, distorted shadows against your sterile concrete walls. The air inside your private cell no longer smells like sour sweat, cheap bleach, or raw fear. Instead, it smells like absolute, suffocating emptiness. You are the ghost, the undisputed new king of Angola. When your polished boots step onto the freezing linoleum floor of the recreation yard, every single Kite Flyer, enforcer, and lieutenant immediately drops their terrified gaze to the dirt. The suits turn a deliberately blind eye when you walk past. You completely control the endless, invisible river of blue strips, the glowing packets, and the hidden metallic tools. You hold the ultimate, terrifying power over life and death within these rusted iron bars. Yet, as you stare blankly out of the heavily barred, narrow window at the dying evening light, a freezing cold shiver violently runs from your heels to the very top of your head. The chilling realization slowly creeps up your spine. You meticulously control absolutely everything, but you truly own nothing. You have successfully, ruthlessly conquered a massive concrete graveyard. You gaze deeply into the pitch-black abyss, and the abyss is finally staring right back at your hollow, dead eyes. Your trembling fingers slowly light a smuggled, premium cigar. The thick, aggressively bitter smoke violently fills your lungs as a deafening, echoing silence completely consumes the empty room. You vividly remember the terrified, naive, fresh fish who walked off that transport bus an eternity ago. A cynical, broken smile forms on your face as you whisper into the terrifyingly quiet void. Hell is not a place you suddenly jump into. It is a dark, descending staircase you slowly, willingly walk down, one brutal step at a time. You firmly believed you were brilliantly mastering the ultimate game of survival. You thought you were the untouchable player. But Angola is the final, rigged gamble where absolutely every player loses. You are not the master of the board. You are merely a highly evolved, cold-blooded monster, permanently locked inside a reinforced concrete cage, kept alive just so the innocent, oblivious civilian world outside can sleep peacefully in their beds. The bloody crown is finally yours, but it is forged from pure, inescapable damnation.